Good evening, everybody. This is your host, Huge Pop from the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. With me is Reek and Nikki D. Our guest tonight is a 80s hair band fan. He holds the IHWE Tag Team Champion. He wrestles for many promotions, SWE and CWF. He is not a fan of the Bible Club. Welcome to the show, Bam Bam Malone. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, gentlemen. How about you?
Wonderful. Thank you for coming aboard the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. I hope we don't run you off. But here we go.
No, you're good, man.
So talk to us about growing up as a fan of wrestling. What was that like for you?
So the first vivid memory I have of wrestling is, I couldn't have been maybe 4 or 5 years old. We had a small, this will tell you how small the town was. The store was called Video and Tan. It was a video store, like a mom and pop, kind of like a Blockbuster type deal. But they also had tanning beds in the back, so you could come rent your movies and get your tan on at the same time. But I remember my parents took me in, and I saw the WrestleMania. It was the first ever triangular ladder match. And my parents let me rent the VHS tape. And I just remember instantly, I thought the guy in long green tights with the long blonde hair was the coolest dude in the entire world. And of course, it turns out to be Edge. And then I saw Jeff Hardy jump off the ladder, and I was just losing my mind. So since that day, man, I've been hooked.
Nice. So who are your favorite wrestlers to watch back then? The ones you named, or are there more?
Obviously, of course, Edge, and I was a diehard Jeff Hardy fan, man. I was a huge Jeff Hardy fan, and as I got a little bit older, I really got into Randy Orton, and of course, I was a John Cena fan. What kid at my age at that time wasn't a John Cena fan? But really Jeff Hardy at a younger age like that, Jeff Hardy and Edge just absolutely grabbed my attention.
That's awesome. Yeah. So one more question on that part. Do you study any of those specific wrestlers to put into action of what you want to let the fans see, what the fans see?
Yeah. Randy Orton is one of the best heels, I think. In professional wrestling, period. So I definitely study a lot of what he does. And I'd like to think, I try to emulate some of his stuff. Just the way there's no wasted motion whatsoever in everything he does. I definitely watch a lot of tape of his. Of course, Shawn Michaels. I try to watch as much as I can, tape wise. A lot of times, like I'll just go specifically. Not a lot of times will I sit there and watch an old pay-per-view, from start to end. But if I see a match that grabs my attention on that pay-per-view, then I'll, fast forward to that match or whatever. But it's just like football. It's just like anything else, man. You have to study film to become good. You none of this stuff that we do is natural. So you have to do that, man. You have to study the film.
I'd just like to shout out my mom and my sister on the they're watching from home in Michigan. Hi, Mom and Dad. Hi, Kim. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love. Rico or Nikki D, you got anything for our guest?
I was going to tell you. So Huge Pop over there. One of his favorites is Baron Corbin. So that's who he likes to jock his style off of.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say he hates Baron
Absolutely
Corbin.
not. I like Baron Corbin as much as you like the Bible Club. Period. Just to throw that out there. Thanks,
I just wanted to bust with him with that.
Thanks, Rick.
So the name Bam Bam, like, where did that come from, man? Like,
man,
it's kind of out there.
Yeah, it's really not as cool as exciting as as I wish it was. But my full shoot name is Chase Allen Malone. My parents, for the longest time, were debating between Chase or Blake. My father's middle name is Allen, so it was always going to be Allen. So if I were to be named Blake, obviously my initials, Blake Allen Malone, would have been Bam, and they were going to call me Bam Bam. So, as a kid growing up wrestling on trampolines with my younger brother, I was always Bam Bam Malone.
Oh, I got you. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you have any other sports that you probably, or anything else that you probably wanted to do in the future, or was wrestling always it?
So I was huge into football. Football was my thing. From 7th and 9th grade, I played football year round. So my 7th grade year, I played for the middle school, and then I also played on a select league team during the fall. So I had 2 football seasons going on during the fall. And then once that football season was over, once fall was over, I'd also play spring select ball. And we would go play at a lot of these like college prep type schools, to where, 99% of the kids that go to these college prep schools end up with D1 offers. So we would have the coaches there. And so, yeah, I was super huge, heavy into football. And like I said, I mean, I played 5 seasons of football, 5 seasons worth of football from 7th, 8th to 9th grade. So, no, I'm sorry. That was more than that. That was between 7th and 8th grade alone. I played 5 seasons worth of football. So, I wonder why sometimes my knees and back bother me. I just turned 27. So, I've been doing this wrestling thing. It'll be 9 years in January. I still feel great, but sometimes when you do have some of the lower back pains, I wonder why. But then I realized that I played 7 seasons of football in 3 years. So,
Plus all that wrestling takes a toll.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. And you've been wrestling for a while too, and it's just the wear and tear on your body. It adds up.
Mm-hmm.
So you said you're 27.
I just turned August 27th was my birthday. So,
all right, another August. Mine's the 11th. So
you're a Leo. Come on.
Yeah. Sorry, but I wanted to ask a question. Actually, it's you're an 80s hair fan.
Yes.
Did I hear Huge Pop right?
You did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because like my oldest daughter is just a little younger than you, and she's obsessed with the 80s. Obsessed with the 80s.
Yeah.
And I thought, holy cow, like you could have grew up in that era. So what made you get into that?
Oh, dude, my dad. Through and through, my dad.
Okay.
I mean, real quick story. I was in 1st grade, and it was a school night, and one of my dad's really good buddies had a spare ticket to Kiss and Aerosmith. They were playing out here in Dallas. And somehow the word got around to me, and I threw an absolute fit. I was a pretty good kid. I never really caused scenes, nothing like that. But, dude, I threw an absolute fit wanting to go to this show. And so I remember my mom and dad, I could vividly remember sitting there in a chair and seeing them talking to each other. They kind of look over and glance at me every now and then, talking to each other. And then my dad comes over and he's like, hey, dude, look, if you go to this concert, you have to go to school tomorrow. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Wow. And so sure enough, he took me to Kiss and Aerosmith when I was in 1st grade on a school night. We bought a ticket at the box office, and you best believe I was the very first one up that next morning ready for school.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then I was the kid, and, in elementary school, I'd walk around with my single CD player and headphones and listen to my Poison Greatest Tracks hit. And, I was an athletic kid. I liked playing sports and stuff, but music is something that, has always been huge to me. So, I try to, they always say that the best characters in wrestling are representations of yourself just turned to 12. So I'd like to think that's exactly what Bam Bam Malone is.
Nice. So his entrance theme song, Nikki D, is "Look What the Cat Dragged In" by Poison. So
nice.
Yeah. So
I like it. I like it.
When I first broke in, my whole gimmick, my whole spiel was the Youth Gone Wild. So I used Youth Gone Wild by Skid Row for the longest time, and then I got to about 23, 24, and I was like, man, I've been doing this Youth Gone Wild thing since I was 18, 19. Maybe I need to maybe I need to switch something up here.
Gotcha.
So what's your top 5 80s hair band?
I'd have to say Skid Row would probably be one. But then after that, man, I really don't. I mean, of course, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Def Leppard, and I even like LA Guns, Faster Pussycat. Yeah, I just saw I saw Skid Row and Buck Cherry together the weekend of my birthday. That was my first time, which of course, it wasn't Sebastian Bach, but Skid Row was still cool.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I think a couple weeks before that, LA Guns was in town, and I saw Faster Pussycat for the first time. And so, I try to hit as many shows as I can because, I mean, let's be real, guys. Those guys live fast lives. They're not going to be around forever. So might as well see them.
They're all as old as me. I'm the oldest guy on this podcast. They're about my age. So,
but I bet you their insides or their livers and everything are much older.
I bet you that's facts.
If they live that lifestyle, that's for sure.
Yeah. And let me tell you, a lot of them look like it.
Oh, yeah. So I believe Aerosmith's doing their final tour.
Man. Some of those guys, like, I mean, geez, how many final tours has Kiss had, or how many final tours has how many final tours has Ozzy had?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Ozzy's just
multiple. This is the last one. The last one. I saw Ozzy. I saw Ozzy perform his last show ever twice.
Yeah,
live in person, and I got sucked into it. I'm like, this is the last time, and then I went again.
Well, dude, even Motley Crue, I saw them on their original final tour, which I should have known better. But of course, they released a movie, and as soon as the movie released and it started getting gaining popularity, The Dirt on Netflix. As soon as it started gaining popularity, I had that. I'm a worker, so I'm like, I think they're working us here. I really don't. I don't think they're done. And sure enough, they weren't.
Oh, well, it's the entertainment business. So, they're playing the angle.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're hoping. They can pull everybody in, go on that final tour. One band now, they're an 80s band. I wouldn't consider them a hair band, but you didn't list off Metallica.
Yeah, I like Metallica.
They're not. They sort of, but they were from that same. They were like young. They're one of the first bands I heard.
Yeah,
in the 80s.
And they were a different. They were a bit of a different sound. They never fed into like the pop bubblegum 80s hair metal that Poison made so popular.
Yeah.
But I definitely I enjoy some Metallica too as well. But man, as cheesy as it is, I love my Faster Pussycat and Poison and Motley Crue, and that's my jam, man.
That's awesome.
It's funny because Dickie D, man, you remember when we were younger, we used to go to the UP. And that was because we grew up in the ghetto, so I never really listened to rock or nothing. And we were up there, and somebody was playing Metallica, and I just got hooked. And then I got hooked on Guns N' Roses. Then it was Poison, Def Leppard. And I'm like, man, these guys are awesome. This is great.
Yep, I have XM radio in my car. Just because, man, I spend so many hours in my car,
Yeah.
And that stays on station 39 Hair Nation majority of the time.
There you go. So how did you get into the business as far as who trained you? Where'd you train at?
So I originally broke in with the CWF guys, the Christian Wrestling Federation out here in Rockwall. But how I even got to know those guys was my sophomore year. Well, let me back up a little bit more. Always during the summer, we would have summer training programs in middle school and high school. And it was always held at the high school. And it was always a program called Athletes by Barnes. And it was a gentleman, Kenny Barnes, and his sons would come and help lead the strength and conditioning program. And Kenny would always tell us that he had a son named Brett that was a professional wrestler. and he was training down in Houston at Booker T's place. And at that time, I kind of got out of wrestling around like middle school ish time, just because a lot of my friends weren't really into it anymore, and so I got more concerned with playing football and chasing girls and all that fun stuff. And so he actually, Brett, the following year ended up coming and coaching at our high school, and he was my defensive line and track coach. And so during track season, I would just sit, most of the time, not even participate in the practice, but just sit there and, BS with them back and forth. And he'd tell me stories about, Booker and, traveling over to Spain and all this stuff. So that very first, sparked my interest. And I remember one day after track practice, I went home and turned on Monday Night Raw for the first time in years. And it was Randy Orton, the first guy I saw on TV. And, last time I'd seen Randy, he didn't have tattoos and he didn't. And so, I turned on the TV and I'm like, dude, this guy looks freaking sweet.
Yeah.
And so I instantly just got rehooked again. And it was probably about the beginning of my junior year. I talked to him and I was like, hey, this may be something that I may actually be interested in pursuing. So, like I said, man, I was super heavy into football. I played on varsity as a freshman. From the time that I was 12 years old, I thought I was going to go play Division I football somewhere and try to make it to the pros. So he was like, go through spring training your junior year, finish off your senior year of football, and, I'll find you somewhere to train. And I went to one day of spring practice my junior year, and the next day I went and turned my pads in. And I went and told Brett, hey man, I'm ready to do this. So the summer leading into my senior year, I was 17. Summer leading into my senior year, he introduced me to Rob Vaughn and the guys at the CWF, because a lot of training schools won't touch you unless you're 18. So I had to bring my mom down with me and have her sign my life away. And if I broke my neck, it wasn't their fault. And I started training with those guys, and then it was really cool because Rob gave me a spare set of keys to the building. So Brett and I would go up there and do one-on-ones. And that's where I picked up a lot really fast working with him, and especially like psychology wise, working with him. Because, when you have a big group of students, it's harder to talk, nitpicky stuff like that. So I just got to sit there and pick his brain. And so, yeah, man, my high school football coach got me into all this.
Nice.
Wow. And you said you're from Texas, right?
Yes, sir. So I'm from a suburb of Dallas, about 30 minutes east of Dallas. It's called Forney.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in Texas, everybody like bleeds football, right?
Oh, dude. Yeah. It was football. I'll never forget my parents' reaction when I told them, hey guys, sorry, I turned my pads in. And, my mom was more so like, okay, do, if this is something you really want to pursue, pursue it. And my father, love him to death. He's the most supportive dude. He thinks my wrestling is the coolest thing in the entire world now. But when I've been so football heavy for so long and I decide, I'm done. I think he definitely kind of questioned, what I was doing. And but now, I mean, my parents are I'm blessed with that. They're my biggest supporters in the world, man. They a lot of times they live a little further out east, so it's kind of harder for them to make some of the shows, but any of them that they can make, they try to make it.
That's awesome. That's what I was going to ask you too, if there was any pushback or any like, are you crazy? Because I hear, in Michigan, football's big, but Texas is like a whole other level. Like you can see it just from the colleges, like the Division I programs, like it's football, like from there, all from high school all the way up to the pros.
Yeah.
So that's why I was thinking when you made that decision, that was pretty bold. That was pretty bold.
And people looked at me sideways, man. I mean, I've always been a bigger kid. So at that point, my junior year when I started wrestling, I was probably, I was like 6'3", 215, 220. And, I remember walking into the head coach's office and I just had my shoulder pads and I had my helmet inside the shoulder pads and I had my pads and he just kind of looked at me sideways and I was like, hey, we need to sit down and talk. And I told him I was quitting. And when he asked why, I told him I wanted to pursue professional wrestling. And man, I thought he was going to laugh me out of his office. I really did. And I got that from a lot of the coaches. And it was kind of weird. My senior year, you go from being super tight and cool with all the coaches, and they're stopping you during passing periods, and hey, what's up, Malone? How's it going? To you walk past them in the hallway, and they just pretend like you don't even exist. And I know for a fact, I even had some of my peers, kind of looked upon it weird and maybe even made fun of it behind my back. But now, they're the first ones to congratulate me every time I have an appearance on WWE. So I don't know.
That's adversity right there. So I respect that. I respect that big time, because that's a tough thing to do in a football state, to especially as young as you were, where you would get criticized and they would go, "You're, what'd you say, 17 years old? You're 17. You don't know what you want yet. We know what you want."
Yeah, and I think so many people, expected me to try it out for a little bit and then quit. And that's just not my attitude, man. Like when I sink my teeth into something, I'd sink my teeth into it, man. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to pursue it to the farthest of my capabilities, and however far that takes me, that's how far it takes me. But and I think I kind of thrive off of people doubting me, and I think that might have been a little bit of it too. And so it was pretty cool. My debut. I don't even want to say debut match. The first time I did anything, it was just a run in. I ran out and I beat up the Jesus Freak Rob Vaughn. And but it ended up falling the day of our senior homecoming dance.
Oh wow!
And I actually had a few of my buddies, blow off the dance to come out and watch me run out with a chair and act a fool. So I've had my core supporters from the beginning, but I've definitely had some doubters.
Gotcha. Awesome. Yeah, you'll get that though.
Rick.
Oh, so I was going to ask you. You brought up WWE. I want to say, what was it, about October, if I'm correct, last year? I believe you were in a handicap match against Braun Strowman.
Yes, sir.
Brian. So how did that come about? Oh, there's a picture right there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that is me, man. And I'm pretty sure if I'm reading that correctly, they said to name this team and wrong answers only. And man, I spent about 3-4 days just laughing at some of these replies. I've got the Wish version of Edge. I got Adam Page comparisons. They tore us apart. Jim Cornette absolutely tore us apart. It was. Yeah, that guy's something else. But I had been doing last year was the first time I'd ever done any kind of extra work with WWE. And I think a couple of months before then I'd got to do something on camera for the first time, and I was just a medic. So I had 3 segments. I checked on if I'm correct, I checked on Becky Lynch. And then I had a one-on-one scene with her, and then I ran out after the main event and checked on Rey Mysterio, and I checked on Dominic Mysterio, and man, I hate the word mark, because the whole reason any of us got into any of this, wrestler wise too, is because, man, we're all marks, we're all fans, right? So dude, when I'm standing in the WWE ring with Rey Mysterio in front of 20,000 people, medic or not, 11-year-old me is freaking out. Yeah. So I'd done extra talent work for a few months, leading up to that point, and that was in New Orleans was when I ended up having a handicap match, but I showed up, just as normal, and one of the agents came up to me, and Louisiana is a state that you had to be licensed in to wrestle. So you don't have to have a physical, but you have to have your blood work, and every 6 months you have to turn that in to the wrestling to the state wrestling committee, and basically just to keep up with your license. And so I knew something was up when they came up to me, and the first thing they asked me was, "Hey, you're licensed in this state, aren't you?" And yes, sir. And they're like, "All right, well, go through medical and let us know when you're cleared." So instantly I was like, well, maybe I don't know. I didn't think I had a match. And so I'd go through, and nonetheless with Braun Strowman, right? So I go through medical and come out and find that same agent and say, "Hey, I'm cleared." He's like, "All right, cool. Well, you're in the handicap with Braun." And I was like, "Braun?" Like, and man, he couldn't have been any cooler and any nicer. He
Very cool.
He treated us very well, and he didn't big time us, and when we're doing kind of going through walkthroughs and everything beforehand, he was a super cool guy.
Did you feel those hands?
Awesome.
What's that?
Did you feel those hands?
Yeah. I felt the hands. I felt the splash. I felt the power slam. I felt, he
felt everything.
He chunked me. Yeah, he gave me a big bill. He literally grabbed me and threw me across the ring, and that was maybe 10% me jumping for him, and 90% of I was going whether I wanted to go or not.
Wow.
He's a big old dude.
Wow.
Oh man, that's awesome though.
Like you mentioned that too, like that, just that excitement that you feel on the inside. And the outside, you have to maintain that professionalism. You have to stay in character. You got to stay in that moment. You ever feel when you were a medic, with Becky Lynch, or even in that match with Braun Strowman, or whatever the case is, ever feel like you almost slipped up, or maybe like smirked, or Rey Mysterio, for crying out loud, when you're out there like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was, man, I was less nervous about the actual match than I was about, doing the medic stuff like that. Cause, dude, I'm not a medical professional.
Yeah.
So, I am a professional wrestler. I can do that. But,
sure.
What am I supposed to do, as a medical professional, So yeah, I definitely, I had a split moment where, I'm going back and forth with Ray, and I'm telling him, "Hey man, like, you need to back up so I can check on Dominic." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm having dialogue with Rey Mysterio in front of in a WWE ring in front of 20,000 people right now, and people can call me a mark or whatever, but dude, 10-year-old me was losing my mind at that point."
Oh yeah. Like you said, we all mark out.
We do.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's why it's why we all watch this, right? We all started off as fans. So
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the point too. That's why I wanted to ask you, because I messed in Cadillac years ago, when I used to work in the Indies, and there was this. I was involved in the Battle Royal, and I was facing Hacksaw was there, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan was facing.
Wow.
It happened. It cleared out. It was just the two of us, and I just turned around, and it was like, to see him. He's huge too.
Yeah.
And then with those big old hands, he grabbed me and backed me up to the turnbuckle, and I couldn't help myself. I smiled. And it was on like closed cable television too. I was like, "You idiot, what are you doing?" Like, I completely marked out. He grabbed me, and I was like, and I tripped, and he had to catch me and hold me up. So that's why I wanted to ask you that, because that's cool. You kept it together, and on that stage, in front of all the fans, with big names like that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it was really cool, man. Especially doing the match with Braun. But I mean, I've had moments like that to myself. Like, I remember being in the ring and Gangrel's music hitting, and he does the full, Brood entrance, and I have to stay cool, keep that face on. But
Yep.
on the inside, I'm like, dude, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Dude, this is awesome. Just the theme music, and he spits the blood out of the cup, and I was like, man, this is the jam. This is it.
And I can tell you, 2023, end of 2022 and 2023 for the podcast, we had the opportunity to have Ken Anderson on the podcast.
Oh, wow.
And I swear to God, 3 days before that, I could have been as prepared as I ever could be prepared for it. But the minute he showed up on the box down here, I'm like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
But
this just got real.
But this just got real. I was like, I don't know if I can do this, But
this is really happening. Yeah.
Right. And so from there, we've had Shane Taylor, Alex Kane, guys like from the CWF, guys like you just try to be professional. Yeah, I mark out. I mean, every month, every Tuesday, I'll get a text from JT from CWF, and he'll tell me who my next guy is, and I'll mark out. I'll go, oh crap. So it's pretty cool. So, we all do it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, of course we all mark out, but, at the end of the day, it's how you react to it. Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how, it's okay. It's okay to mark out, but I said, I hate the word mark, but it's okay to mark out. Just don't be a mark,
Right.
Well said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very well said.
Wait until you're in your house,
Yeah. Yeah. Wait till you get
By
your car
yourself.
on the way home and be like, dude, I just wrestled on SmackDown.
Right. Good talk. Yes. Rico.
So actually, talking about some people that we've actually interviewed, Jay Alexander is one of them.
Okay.
And you had a match about, 5 months ago with him?
Oh man, I did. We've had two now. We had one back in, it might have been like April or so. And then we just had one this past month. It was the day before my birthday. Yep. And, man, Jay's awesome. Jay's great.
So I was going to ask you, man, because that first match you guys had when you beat him for the belt. So that super kick, that really, it looks like you really got him. And then at the end, the finisher, it looked like you kind of just you really knocked him sideways, because the way he fell down, I was like, man, he really got him with that.
He took it like a pro, man. He did what he needed to do. If you really think I knocked his head off,
it just watch it. I was like, this is a freaking awesome match. This is just an awesome match.
Yeah, we've had two really good matches so far, and those are the only two matches that we've had together. But it kind of comes a little bit full circle. Jay started at Booker's place, and that's where the guy who trained me, started at. So Booker produces a lot of really good talent, man, and that's no secret to anybody. If I didn't have Brett in high school, I probably would have ended up down in Houston myself.
Right.
So he produces a lot of talent, and Jay's no exception to that, man. Jay's awesome. He looks incredible. His intensity is there, and I don't see any reason why within the next 4 to 5 years that we don't watch Jay Alexander on national television every week.
He's good. He's a
Well,
great guy.
What I was going to touch up on that, if you don't mind, Huge Pop, there was man, it looked like a couple of chops he gave you just really hurt. And so my question was, who actually so far has given you the hardest chops?
Oh man, Moonshine Mantell. If you gentlemen know who that is, he lives in Kansas City now, but he's also a Texas boy. He's from down in the Austin area, and man, when I tell you these dudes chops, it's almost like a known thing in the wrestling community is after he gives you two of them, just curl in a corner. Don't allow him to give you that third one. He just chops so hard. And, I've been told I give pretty good chops too, but he's one guy I don't want to go toe to toe with in chops. I went back and forth with Jay. I've gone back and forth with Barrett Brown, who can chop the heck out of you. But when it comes to Moonshine Mantel, I will just not throw a chop. I know better.
Kind of reminds
I
you
know
like
better.
someone like Big Show, man. Just that huge hand chopping it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's not even, I mean, Moonshine's definitely gives off sound, but you hear the thud. And anybody who's ever been a worker before knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say you hear the thud. Like it's just, you just feel it through your sternum. Like it's brutal.
Make the hair stand up on the back of my neck just thinking about it. Like
Yeah,
that stuff
exactly.
hurts.
Man.
It hurts.
Yep. It's not even the loud pops that hurt. It's the thuds that'll get you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh man, that just sounds like it hurts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how important is fan interactions for both during the match and after the match is over? Because I know how CWF does their thing afterwards with the fans. So in the media, how important are fans to you? And
I mean, man, they're the whole reason we put on these shows, right? If we had nobody coming to the shows, then none of us would be doing this. So you have to find times to interact with the fans, and during the match, it's unquestioned. You absolutely have. They're the ones that we're telling the story to. It's not about trying to ooh and awe your friends that are behind the curtain. It's about getting that crowd reaction, getting them invested. And, it's I'm not telling any secret here. Wrestling is a work, and I think just about everybody knows that. But if you can get them for that split second to turn that off in their mind and just be invested in what's going on in the ring, then that is the absolute best feeling in the entire world.
Absolutely. Yep. So are there any crazy fan interactions? Any things that went crazy that you...
Oh man. Yeah. I've had old ladies spit on me in Tennessee. I've been followed out to my car a few times. Yeah, some wrestling fans just don't know when to turn it off.
Yep.
So now, last thing on the fans from my end, are the fans in a secular like SWE promotion, are they different than the ones that would come to a CWF?
Yes, but we bridge that gap a lot because, and I think a lot of people, just from hearing the name CWF, Christian Wrestling Federation, I think a lot of people instantly in their mind goes, oh, well, the quality of wrestling is not going to be that good. It's just, they're not focused on the wrestling. It's not going to be a very good show. But when people see, what we put out online and see the stories that we tell, that's where we grab their attention, and then then allow them to hear the message as well too. So that's a really cool thing about Christian Wrestling Federation. And man, like, I'll put this against anything. We have one of, if not the best monthly running shows in the DFW area. I would put our product against anybody else's in the DFW area, and that's no disrespect to anybody in the DFW or surrounding area, but that's how much I believe in our product, and that's just how good it is, man.
Okay. I think Rico and Nikki, I don't know if Nikki D's on board, but I think we're thinking about coming down to Rockwall on December of 2024 to be commentary at the cage match.
Yeah. Come on down, boys.
I'm definitely marinating on it. Definitely.
Yeah, it's a good time, man. That whole show, it's a cage show. So from the first match to the main event, every single match is in the cage. So it's a different thing. It's something that the hardcore Christian Wrestling Federation fans maybe have never seen before, So we don't do a whole lot of, weapons, and we don't do a whole lot of, extreme type wrestling, but every December we put those 4 walls up around the ring and have at it.
Awesome.
So you plan on being there next year, 2024?
I plan on being there in 2024. I'm glad you guys aren't coming down this December because I won't be there for it this year. I'm a little bummed for it. It's the first cage show I've missed. Gosh, man, I think since they started doing the cage shows a few years ago. So I won't be there for this one, but if you guys are there for 2024, I'll be there too.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Nicky.
I was going to ask you, man, the triple G's, the gold girls glory.
Yeah.
To me, that's almost like a. Did you get that someone like that from like Ric Flair's, limousine ride and jet flying?
Honestly, man, it's a complete Motley Crue ripoff. Complete Motley Crue ripoff. When I first broke in, I had a tag team partner, Jackson Stone, and Bam Bam Malone and Jackson Stone. We were BB and J, and one of our monikers was Gold Girls and Glory, and we were heels. We were always heels, and it's just the 3 G's of life, man. Gold, Girls, and Glory. What else do you need? And so once I stopped doing so much of the Youth Gone Wild stuff, I kind of transitioned more over into that. And if you've ever seen any of my T-shirts or anything, man, it's a black T-shirt with pink neon writing. It looks just like the Girls, Girls, Girls logo on the Motley Crue album.
I saw that.
Hey, man, it may not be completely original, but it's original to wrestling. So
there you go.
That's awesome.
There you go.
I was just curious about that. I was like, that's pretty sweet, though.
Yep, Gold, Girls, and Glory.
I like how you have on your truck. You got the triple G's right there.
Yep. Yeah, I have it on my tights, and then I had a couple of new pairs of trunks made where I have a black pair that has the gold writing on the back, the Gold, Girls, and Glory, and then I have a gold pair, of course, and a blue pair as well. So I'm always very colorful with the gear, man. I don't like just wearing, it seems like every independent wrestler since the beginning wears either black or red. So I try to mix it up some with my colors.
There you
Talking about ripping off. We one of our shirts that Nicky D's wearing is a rip off from the Usos. I mean,
yeah,
day one-ish, and then I have another one up here. It's the NWO HPWP for life. So it's okay.
Well,
it's okay to rip off.
Hey, those jerks. Something tells me those jerks in the Bible Club didn't quite come up with that on their own either. So
you're
Let's get
wrong.
big fits on here.
Now wait.
Whoa, hang on.
That deserves this.
Oh, man.
There you go.
Oh, my word.
Well, and in all seriousness, though, man, Johnny's one of my best friends in the entire world. And I remember when he came to me with that idea, I was like, man, are you sure? Because there's already so many Bullet Club ripoffs in professional wrestling, and man, I tell you what, he did it, and he's made it his own. And dude, Bible Club is over. Those kids cannot get enough of Bible Club.
So you mentioned Johnny Lawless, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to us about when you and Johnny Lawless met? Oh no, I'm sorry. Let's go back. Can you talk about the punch that you give Johnny Lawless in that corner and the CWF promo thing that at the tail end of that, you're like smacked him really hard.
Yeah, I've smacked Johnny a few times, man. Sometimes a little bit stiffer than I've meant to. I think my favorite Johnny story is we were working together at CWF one time, and I had him in a chin lock, and I whipped my hair over in front of his face to call the next spot. And he's been bald for some time, so I guess it's been a little while since he smelled shampoo and conditioner. And right in the middle of me calling the next spot, he just stops me and goes, "Man, your hair smells amazing." And I just I didn't sell whatsoever. I just said thanks. Anyways, and just went right back, right back to what I was saying. But yeah, Johnny's an awesome man. He's a man of God. He's a great friend, man. He would take the shirt off your back. And I don't know if you guys have had a chance to really interview him and talk to him, but man, he's got a story. The dude has done a lot in his life between Olympic figure skating and touring with Disney on Ice, and so he has a lot of life knowledge that he's close to, if not about 10 years older than me, and he's passed on a lot of information, and I'm super thankful for that guy.
Awesome. Rico or Nicky D?
Nice.
Yeah. I was going to say, too, you talked about the CWF and how some people hear the Christian, part of that, they're like Christian Wrestling Federation, and they might go, I don't know if I want to give it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think, like, if we go back to music for a moment, there was a group which you guys probably have all heard of, Skillet. And it was like, wow, I wonder what, they would be like, oh, they're a Christian group and this and that. But if you see them, and I've had privilege to see them live, my wife has seen them like 5 times.
Yeah.
But I saw them in concert. It was like, wow, wow. Like, so that was the cool thing that you said that, because you never know how good it's going to be. And some people get turned off because they automatically think, well, just like music, they'll think, oh, Christian music, that might be boring. Like Christian wrestling, that might be boring because they're not going to have, dropping all those F-bombs and all the, scantily clad women and all that stuff. But you don't know how good it is until you actually give it a shot and you watch
it. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And to me, man, some of these guys that, are dropping the F-bombs in a promo or whatever, like, dude, if you can't get over without saying a bad 4-letter word, then you're just not very good. If you have to cuss and scream at the crowd to get them to boo you, then you're just not a very good heel. And of course, starting out in the CWF, I don't think I've ever cussed in a single promo, even outside of CWF, just because you have that instilled in your head, and once you get to a point where you realize, why would I even do that? To me, it whether you're a heel or not, like, it's just intelligent. It's not intelligent, man. It makes you sound dumb. Like, there's so many better ways to get your point across without saying the F word, or so why? You don't see them do it on WWE, and they're the biggest wrestling company in the entire world. So why does your independent promotion that draws 35 fans a month need it? They don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cut a good promo.
Yep. And a lot of times, man, that's a bigger turnoff to fans than even the thought about being preached to at a Christian show. What if you take your 7, 8, 9-year-old daughter to a show, and the opening match, the dude comes out there and starts dropping F-bombs, and I'm not taking my kid back there.
Mm-mm.
And I get that. I get that. My brother and I will have debates over this. One of the probably the best heels in the business would probably be that everybody would say it'd be MJF. But I'd love to see MJF cut a clean promo. That's what I'm saying. Let's
I know he could.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And dude, he is uber talented. I mean, obviously there's a reason he's in the position that he's in. And I mean, obviously he's doing something right, and he's doing something better than I am. That's why he's in the position he's in. So I don't necessarily know if I'm in a position to criticize him, but if I did have anything to say, I think I'd have to agree with you. Is like, man, like, dude, you were so talented, and that's a whole nother spill. Yeah. But I agree exactly with what you're saying. Yeah. It kind of seems that whole company as a whole kind of tends to take the cheap way out sometimes. But
look at like John Cena. It was great on the mic. I think you've heard him cuss once or twice, out of all the years he's been doing.
He has maybe said ass or
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. He
yeah,
rarely ever, and he would resonate with kids
yeah,
and so many of the kids. So that was the audience. And you had people that, they're like, oh, you should go heel, you should do this and do that. But he just kept it clean. He kept
yeah,
it PG. And there's nothing wrong, just like you said too, Bam Bam, about bringing your kids to the show. Wrestling is still geared towards the younger generation. And why would you want
yeah,
to take them somewhere and where guys are, just swearing and you hear all the language. Like if there's language I wouldn't use around my kids, then why would I take them, to watch something where people are using language that I wouldn't use? So
yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And at the end of the day, man, like, dude, the Attitude Era was cool. The Attitude Era was awesome. We will never have another Attitude Era.
no,
So
Mm-mm.
it could never be duplicated. Like it or not, it's 2023 and some things have changed since 1997 and 1998. So you just, and even in the Attitude Era, man, did you ever hear them, dropping F-bombs on national television? No.
Nope.
no,
To me, it
people
makes you
only did
seem,
that. Yeah, they only did that when they were like, I hate to use the word desperate, but when they were really trying to get, I remember WCW when they were in that tight real world ratings battle. You had people
Yeah.
like Kevin Nash went on there and he started saying other choice words. And I was like, whoa,
yeah,
they're saying that on live TV. And all that is just a way to like shock value. They're just trying to get shock value. And that's just their way of like, okay, we're going to do this, but it doesn't
yeah.
last. And they do it
Look how
all
it
the
worked out
time.
for him.
What's that?
And to me,
So
man,
look how it worked out for them.
Yeah.
yeah. And to me, like it makes you seem unprofessional. It makes you seem small time. Like, it doesn't. And and I'm going to sound hypocritical here because one of my favorite segments of all time is the DX where they read off the letter from USA Network.
Oh yes, yes,
But
yes.
everything was bleeped out and but
Yeah.
then again it made sense.
Right.
It wasn't just saying the F word just because you're not intelligent enough to find
Right.
another word.
Correct.
They were going along with what was going on, and
Yep.
they
Yeah,
made it funny.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
bigger picture. And remember too, in the Attitude Era, one of your crazy how good of a heel he was Kurt Angle, and Kurt Angle was basically the 80s babyface. He was
Yeah,
the 80s
exactly.
babyface,
Yeah,
but he was a heel
Yep.
because it was magic. Like it just worked so well.
yep.
But one thing I wanted to ask you a little bit ago, and we got into talking about this, but everybody has stories, okay? And you travel around, you've been all over the place, and I hear this from a lot of the people that I used to work. What is your craziest road story that you have?
Oh man. Well, maybe if you guys ever have me on an X-rated podcast, I can tell some of that. I'm just kidding. Man, I've gotten to spend some time around Chase Stevens and the natural, Chase Stevens, and I've gotten to become really good friends with Cassidy Riley, his former tag team partner in TNA. But man, I tell you, Chase Stevens is a wild man and an absolute character. And man, I've seen that dude in bar fights, and we've shut down bars together, and he's a lot of my, without going into much further detail to get me in any trouble. It would definitely it'd have to involve him in some sort, way, or manner.
Good enough.
Gotcha. We'll stop it right there.
I'm not trying to indict myself on.
No, I would not. That guy's
live. So
I met him at XIW in Extreme Impact Wrestling over here in Panama City.
Uh-huh.
With I don't know if you know the names Adrian Whisper and Jackson Slade. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Real good friends of mine. And last year they had Chase Stevens in as a bodyguard to Adrian Whisper. And
Okay.
that boy is huge. He is a blast to be around. I got to hang out with him before the match and stuff, but that guy is something else.
And dude, he couldn't be a nicer guy.
No, you're exactly right. This guy was phenomenal.
And he's legit. Like, he was a Golden Gloves boxing champion. I mean, he is legit. Wow. And I've seen him show how legit he is. And, you know, just because he's a super always, you know, go with the flow, he's here to have a good time. Don't cross him.
he had a match that night with Damian Wayne. And
Damian Wayne is the man. Yep. Those guys went at each other. And so Damian Wayne is another personal friend of mine. And it's sad to see that he hung up the boots, 2 bad knees. He's gonna be missed in the Indies for sure. But dude, he has gotten to do such cool things, you know, in the film industry with the movie Heels, and you know, he's another one, man. Like, couldn't be a nicer guy. And you know, Damian Wayne, he's a true worker. He's a true professional wrestler. And you know, they're I think a slogan that a lot of those guys use, Chase and Francisco Ciazzo, if you guys know who that is, and Damian Wayne, and you know, they say they're the last of a dying breed, and they truly are, man. They really are. They don't quite make them like they used to, and you know, I try to hover a little, you know, around that, just because, man, like I got to be around those guys at such a young age, and you know, those guys walk into a room and instantly grab attention. And to me, you know, not every professional wrestler needs to be 6'5" and 300 pounds and 4% body fat. But you also shouldn't look like Joe Blow, who just walked in off the street.
Right.
And, you know, Chase Stevens, Damian Wayne, if those guys were to walk into a room, they're instantly going to grab the room's attention.
So that was a question I was going to ask. How important is it for you guys in the back to pay attention to these guys like Damian Wayne, like Chase Stevens, these vets that come in, that a lot of these indie promotions call on these big time vets, you know, because this month, Austin Aries is going to be in Panama City and with XIW. How important are these guys? Should you guys in the indies gravitate like you used and pay attention to what they're saying?
Dude, it's free education. Why would you not pick their brains? You know, so many of those guys are willing to give knowledge. And, you know, back in the day, that's how you learned. You would get in the car with these guys and drive, you know, 10, 12 hours at a time and just shut up and listen. And, you know, so many of these newer kids and newer guys just think they know everything, man. And, you know, that's where I learned, you know, less is more. You know, working with those guys, you don't have to do 47 450s, and you don't have to kill yourself to tell a story and get the crowd involved. And, you know, that's something that I learned, you know, watching Chase and Damian and watching those guys work, man, is, dude, I would go out there and murder myself and then watch them main event the place and have the place just rocking. And I maybe got, you know, 3 claps during my match. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm doing something wrong here. So, you know, it's just, it's free, man. Sit there and watch, talk to those guys, because 9 times out of 10, those guys are willing to talk to you back.
Yep. Like you said, free knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rico?
So, actually, I just want to ask real quick. So what's your end game? Like, is there a future organization you want to be with, like AEW, WWE, or Impact?
You know, man, I would love to do this full time, and travel and take this to the furthest of my ability. I'd be lying if I were to say that, you know, WWE wouldn't be my ultimate goal, because I mean, I think, you know, 95% of us get into this business with that mindset. I mean, it's the biggest company in the world to work for, and it's never not going to be the biggest company in the world to work for. So they have the biggest global presence, you know, and especially with this merger and everything
yeah.
that just went down, it's just going to get even bigger and faster. And so, I would absolutely love to land there one day. But honestly, man, I enjoy the heck out of this. I love it. And if I could get paid to wrestle and travel the world, then I would be one happy camper.
Gotcha.
Nikki?
So my question is, you're young, okay?
Mhm.
Do you are you just going all the way until you make it, or do you have maybe, like, a lot of people in the business don't like to hear the plan B.
Yeah.
But have you ever thought of a plan B, like, okay, I'm going to push it and things start hurting or my body starts giving out and things like that? Do you have something else that maybe you have a passion for that you would do, or even that you want to do even after you make it? You go,
Yeah.
okay, I've made it. I worked for WWE or whatever, and now I'm going to go do this. What would that thing
Now
be?
what? Yeah. I mean, I have other interests outside of wrestling too, and I think that is very important to do. Some of these guys, and I don't want this to sound like a bad thing because it's not, but they eat, sleep, breathe professional wrestling. And yes, I could see where that can be a plus, but at the end of the day, man, this stuff ends for everybody, right? So they're going to find themselves sitting there not knowing what to do when it does end. So I have so many interests outside of professional wrestling. Like honestly, man, like my absolute favorite sport in the entire world is motocross. I grew up riding and racing motocross. I keep up with motocross like on the professional level. Like, dude, I even play like motocross fantasy games with my buddies, and like it's like it's stupid. So, I think the coolest thing in the world is, if I end up making some money in professional wrestling and are able to put some money aside, I would love to start up my own team and go, get some riders and let's go race on a professional level and see what we can do.
There you go.
But and that's just I've never wanted to live like a 9 to 5. I never wanted to, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I've just always seen myself doing something else, something more. And so, whether that's traveling the world wrestling or, traveling the United States, supporting a small motocross team, I don't know, man, our time on this earth is so limited. I just want to do some really cool stuff.
There you go.
Awesome.
Positive way of looking at it, man.
Yes, sir.
I was told a story by JT. Maybe it can help. I'd like you to share it if you could. You had probably one of the most coolest things happen to you, in my opinion, with Johnny Lawless. You guys were in an airport and you were able to meet Scott Hall.
Yeah, man. We were, and this was just a few months before he passed. We had just landed in Atlanta, and we had an atrocious day of traveling, and we were just trying to find somewhere to eat. And we were walking. There's like a little food court, and then there's a little bar in the center, and there's some like stands and just different stuff all around the little bar. And so we're just kind of scoping out, seeing, what's over there to eat. And all of a sudden from behind me, I hear, "Hey, where's that promotion out of?" And I'm wearing a Christian Wrestling Federation shirt. And so I turn around to answer the gentleman, and I just stopped dead in my tracks. And I just sat there and stared at him. And Johnny does the same thing. He turns around and he goes, "Oh, we're based out of," and just stopped. And we both just sat there and looked at him, and Mr. Hall just kind of, "Hey, what's up? My name's Scott." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. Your name is Scott. You were Scott Hall." And he was sitting there with the lady. And so I assumed that, they were together, and I didn't want to, hey, it's cool to mark out, but don't be a mark, right? So I didn't want to stand there and pasteurize them. And so we kind of chit-chatted with them a little bit and kind of told us what we're, what it was about. And we're a ministry-based company in the Dallas area, and then we kind of just politely excused ourselves and wish he had a great night. And Johnny and I stepped back and we're standing at the table and we're like, dude, that was Scott freaking Hall. And well, we soon realized that he wasn't with her, that he was by himself, and they just happened to be sitting next to each other. Because I would see them, he would sit there and he'd kind of pick at his food a little bit, then he'd just glance up at the TV, kind of pick at his food, then he'd pick up his phone, kind of scroll, then look at the TV. And Johnny was the one that was like, hey man, I think we need to go back over there and talk to him. And I was like, all right, Cowboy, you take the lead on this, because I'm not approaching him twice. And so sure enough, we went over there, and man, he couldn't have been more welcoming. We almost missed our ride for our pickup because we sat there and talked to him for like an hour and 15 minutes. He's just telling us about, old school stories with, him and Sean and traveling together. And the one piece of advice he gave us was always stretch. He said, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It could be a 30-second run in, always warm up. So you best believe before every match now, I'm back there, which, I always did before, but hey, if Scott Hall tells you to do something, you do it. So I'm back there stretching and warming up. And man, we got to pray with him. And one of the one big regret that I have there is, we asked for his contact information, and, if he would be interested in possibly coming to CWF and sharing his testimony, because man, if anybody's ever seen anything about him, the dude had a testimony. And he said that he'd be interested. And so Johnny put his phone number into Scott Hall's phone. And I remember sitting there looking at Johnny put his phone number in, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, Johnny, for the love of God, please press call so we have his number. Because you're just going to be Johnny from Atlanta Airport and Scott Hall's phone, and we're never going to hear from him. And so as soon as we walked off, I said, did you press call? And Johnny was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, dude, why did you not press call so we had his number, so we could reach out to him? Because I could tell he was going to, I could tell he was definitely hesitant, to even kind of open up to us. And, but when he did, man, he just poured his heart out to us, and, and shed a few tears, and, allowed us to pray with him. And man, that was one of the coolest moments in my life so far, was, getting to sit there, and I know it made an impact on him. And that was the coolest thing, outside of wrestling. We were able to spiritually, positively impact Scott. And, God rest his soul. He could have been nicer than us. And, of course we had to ask for a picture. So he stood up, put the toothpick in, stood on his tippy toes, and took a picture with us.
Nice.
Very
That
cool.
is nice, man.
That is amazing story. Amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool, man.
I can tell you right now, CWF has been a game changer. At least I know for myself speaking, I taught Rico, Nikki like waits on. I know I hear from him Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Man, are we going to have CWF? And so Nikki's always loving the CWF. Rico loves the CWF. I can tell you,
yeah.
I work with kids, and wrestling podcast gives me an hour and a half to get away from real life, and and CWF has been a game changer for me. I mean, every time I come into a CWF interview, you guys have something cool to say, and even to hear just that you were an influence on Scott Hall.
Yeah.
So he shared his testimony. So if it's all right to ask you, I'm sure you have some kind of testimony. Could you share that testimony? Do you feel comfortable sharing that testimony?
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I had a super interesting testimony, but I grew up in a Christian household, and always had loving and adoring parents, and so we all stray at times. And, Johnny has been huge on that, and, really drilling it into my head as of, hey, whether I was 22, 23 years old, hey, it's okay to have some fun at your age, but don't lose sight of what's really important. And Johnny has been a huge influence on me. Like I said, he really is one of my best friends, not only in wrestling but in real life as well. And I've had some pretty dark moments. I tore my ACL in August of 2016. I was supposed to leave for November of 2016 and go stay a month in Germany and wrestle in Germany and a few other places in Europe. And so I had to miss that. And then just a few months after that, I had a cousin pass away. We were only about 6 months apart. He unfortunately overdosed on heroin and passed away. So I kind of just got hit, 1, 2, and man, unfortunately, the way I dealt with that was I kind of got lost in the bottom of a Jack Daniel bottle for a little while, and the CWF really helped pull me out of that, and that's around the time that I had met Johnny before then, but it was kind of around that time that we actually started clicking, and I really think he could see that I was struggling, I was hurting. But man, I was a 20, 21-year-old kid, dude. I didn't know how to, really talk about that. And he gave me a safe place to, open up and talk about that. And, I'm extremely grateful for the CWF. I really am. Not only are they just a group of solid, genuine guys, because man, that's hard enough to find, nonetheless in professional wrestling, but in life in general, right? It's hard to find, people who who don't have an ulterior motive. They're just there because they want to see you succeed. So, just like anybody else, I've dealt with my issues, dealt with my problems, but I've always just turned back to what I know, and always helped. It's always dug myself out of those dark holes.
Anybody have any more close before he closes?
No, I just want to say I appreciate your time and thank you for everything, man. And I can't
absolutely, guys. Yeah, thank you.
Matches.
Oh yeah. Thank you for having me on, man. This was an absolute blast. Anytime you guys would like to have me on, just let me know.
Nicky D, got anything?
I was going to say it's easily one of my favorites. One of my favorite interviews. Love your testimony. And one of my favorite things, I didn't get to speak on it earlier, but when you talked about the importance of telling a story without jeopardizing your morals and your character and all those things. To me, you're one of those people that, and I know you're only 27, but you have the mind of somebody who's like old school and could actually talk to, this younger generation and say, hey, it's not about doing all these crazy spots and wrecking yourself physically. It's telling a story. You have that maturity, and it's all the things that you've gone through to get to where you are right now. So I'm just saying, I respect that a lot. I respect you. And I definitely thank you for coming on. It's awesome.
I really appreciate that, man. That means a lot.
Bam Bam Malone, I appreciate you taking your time out of your schedule. Again, I mimicked what Reek said and Nicky D said. Love the stories, love the testimony, loved your positivity. So what do you want the fans to know about Bam Bam? Do you have a motto of life? And is there any warnings to any of your competitors coming up that you need to let them know?
Well, warnings to my competitors, hey guys, before you step in the ring, you know what I'm about. That's 3 G's of life, gold, girls, glory. And if you plan on standing in my way of any of those 3 G's, lights out. You're done.
There you go. Straight from Bam Bam Malone. Thank you, sir, for showing up tonight. I appreciate all the stuff you do. I appreciate your willingness to be here. And again, thank you for everything. Nikki D, Reek, Bam Bam, just stay on. I'm going to play the closing songs. Just stay, and we'll talk to you in the lobby.
Cool. Sounds good, gentlemen.
All right.